Hey there, beautiful souls. Excited to have you guys tuning in for today's message. Always an honor to have any of you joining in and contributing to today's message. So I cannot wait to hear from you guys. You know the drill. Get commenting, dropping me a comment, and I really can't wait to hear your perspectives on today's topic. Now, today's one might be a bit of a long one because I got a lot I want to share with you guys today, and it's one that is a bit of a new topic for me, and I know that a lot of you guys who have been following me for a while, you've heard me talk about when, the label of narcissism and how I've never really liked it. I feel like I felt like it kind of can put people in a box, can kind of categorize people in a way where we've just kind of labeled somebody and dismissed them. And on the flip side of that, those who find themselves in a narcissistic relationship or label other people narcissists in their lives, I've also felt in the past that basically, you're positioning yourself as a victim, which feels very disempowering. All right. So I want to put that out up front because I know I've said it so many times over the years, when I've spoken about, narcissistic relationships and how they attract empaths and, the whole, we've all heard those kind of statements, right? And how I don't really buy into it. But I got to tell you guys, I have had some of the most revealing situations happen to me, and sometimes when we wake up to really major things in our lives, we can reflect back through our history and our timeline, and it can be a bit of a rude awakening as to what we've been in denial of, or what we've kind of dismissed, or what we've kind of diminished at our own peril. And so I gotta say, this topic that I want to talk to you guys about today is I've kind of actually been having this, not just kind of having this experience, I have definitely been having this experience. And it's, I'm very grateful for it because it's actually opened me up to a really empowering pathway forward for myself personally and professionally. So can't wait to share more of that with you guys. But this one is going to be for you. If you have ever struggled with an unhealthy or toxic relationship dynamic, and you kind of haven't really been able to trust yourself or believe in yourself necessarily, or you just doubt your own intuitions, or you might see red flags and kind of deny them or rationalize them away, or maybe this has been a relationship that you have with a family member, and something's always been kind of off in that connection. Maybe it has been an intimate partnership. Maybe it's with friends or a co-worker or a boss where you just feel like you have to be in kind of a self-protection mode, and maybe you don't know what's going on, but it doesn't feel right, and maybe you subject yourself to it because you think maybe you're the problem or you're what's creating it, all right, and all those sorts of things. So if you have had an experience with what we refer to as more of a narcissistic person, which basically I do believe that we all have narcissistic traits, right? I don't think it's like you're either a narcissist or you're not. I think that to be in healthy balance between our narcissistic side and our altruistic side, right? The narcissistic side, what's in it for me, and the altruistic side, what's in it for you, right? I think that it's really good to have a healthy balance with that. And I see narcissism as being on a scale. But what I want to talk to you guys about today is when it goes so far onto one side that it actually becomes a disorder in somebody's personality, and it can be very, very costly for those who involve themselves. The more personally involved you become with somebody who is struggling with some of those narcissistic characteristics on a large scale, the more unhealthy it can become for you, the more toxic the dynamic can be, all right? So what I want to talk to you guys about today is 18, because I couldn't limit it. I started with a lot smaller number and then it just kept growing, and I just want to cover all of this with you guys today. So it's 18 tactics to ensure against narcissistic relationships. And I want to touch on how fear, guilt, hope, and naivety are what get people stuck in narcissistic relationships. And also it's those sort of characteristics that attract us into those dynamics as well. Okay, so I'm just going to be talking to you guys from my own personal experience with these tactics, and I've been doing a hell of a lot of research and studying on this, all the way from, you know, looking at the DSM and really looking at what you need to be categorized as having a disorder in this area, so that I'm well educated or becoming well educated. I'm just in the beginning stages of this, really, because like I said, it's a bit of an awakening. And I've also been studying. I really recommend Dr. Ramani on YouTube. Check out her videos, and also there's another guy, he's really good, but I've forgotten his name. I'll get it to you. If you drop me a comment and you let me know you want some other resources to understand narcissistic dynamics, particularly in relationship, then definitely drop me a comment and I will get those details over to you. So let's get into it. Now, from my own experience, and why I'm so passionate about studying this in my life right now, is because basically, with the latest experience that I've had in the realm of relationship, I missed everything. I missed all the red flags. I excused them away. I'm going to share with you kind of what I did, and now, based upon reflection with the new awareness that I have, and being able to reflect through not only that relationship, but a series of relationships that I've been connected to, and then wake up and actually finally see the patterns. It's very true that basically narcissistic relationships beget narcissistic relationships, right? So what that means is you just keep having these narcissistic relationship dynamics occur in your life until you get enough information to actually start recognizing what's the pattern here, right? And what is it about me that attracts these kind of people, and how can I recognize in other people some red flags that are not going to lead me to what I'd ideally want in the realm of any relationship, and also help me to create, kind of gatekeep and create a very strong boundary and awareness around what to look for. All right, so this is kind of the information I wish that I had listened to, because I think I've had a lot of information come my way and I haven't listened to it, but I wish I had beforehand. But then again, grateful for all of the experiences that I've had, because they've definitely woken me up in ways that I don't really think we can wake up until we experience our lives. All right, so can't wait to check in with you guys, and please do share this message with anybody that you know could be struggling in a narcissistic dynamic, or maybe you suspect somebody is a narcissist in your life and you would like them to get some more information about these dynamics for their own awareness, and whatever your reasoning, whoever you think this could be a powerful message for. And if you're somebody like me who sees the greatness in everybody, I kind of built my whole business on helping people discover their genius, unleash their greatness, and realize that I have become a bit of a magnet to people who struggle with these particular characteristics of narcissistic personality disorder on a large scale, and I kind of fuel there and perpetuate their cycle and enable it. All right, so if you're somebody who can relate to that, this is going to be a powerful message for you as well. So let's get into it. So this is all about gatekeeping to prevent relationship toxicity. All right. So these are 18 tactics to ensure that you do not create a relationship with a narcissist. all right? And basically, if you want me to go through what a narcissist is, I can. So drop me a comment if you want to know the diagnostic characteristics of a narcissist, and I'll definitely do that for you guys. I'll do it straight out of the DSM for you. But because I've got so much to cover, let's get into it. All right, so number one, this is a big one. We've got to stop giving second chances, all right? Because now I don't mean like, you know, a normal, people they're not always perfect. They make mistakes, you know. I do actually believe in giving a second chance, but what I mean by this is repetitive second chances, right? Like where you've given a second chance, given the benefit of the doubt, but now you're doing it again and again and again, and now it's the 20th time, the 30th time, the 40th time, the 50th time, right? Where you just keep giving these other chances, right? You are really trusting words over actions, okay? And this is something that just keeps going on over and over again, and you just keep enabling the same dynamics, all right? So when you see a red flag, when things get broken, when your trust gets broken, when things aren't adding up, you know, give a first, second chance, I would say, but like then really start really questioning and following through on what else I'm going to share with you guys today to get a really clear idea about the level of toxicity that may be in that dynamic. And remember, particularly in the beginning of relationships, it's all roses, you know, it's all, you know, everything beautiful. You know, it takes time to really get to understand somebody and for their veil to kind of slip off for you to be able to really start to see, hang on a minute, all right? So you got to be careful that you don't get too deep too soon, which is something I'm going to talk about soon, that could keep you stuck, all right? Number two, this is really important, to stop rationalizing away their poor behavior. Okay, so this is when you start explaining away, they do something and something feels off for you, and you just, you know, you rationalize it, you explain it away, you kind of justify it, you start enabling it, right? And this is basically what keeps the gate open for far too long, right? We usually realize the red flags within the first month of connecting with somebody. But when we rationalize away their behavior, we keep that gate open for far too long, and it allows them to get really deep with us, all right? And basically, usually in this stage, there is a payoff, right? And it's some sort of fear that you have that might be perpetuating the rationalization. Fear of being alone, fear of missing out on a relationship, you know, whatever it is that keeps you in this state of, oh, just rationalizing it, right? Oh, maybe it's me, or maybe, oh, they just had a bad day, or whatever it is, all right? Just be very mindful of rationalizing their poor behavior. Number three, you've got to do the self-awareness work, and you've got to know your own blind spots and your own patterns. If you don't recognize your own blind spots and your own patterns, the things that are attracting and leaving you open and vulnerable to people to manipulate you, you're gonna be like me, right? Which is basically find yourself in positions very naively where you don't find out until well into it, where it can be very self-destructive to your own belief in yourself and so many other things, right? And so it's super important to heal your past, right? And to basically look at your family dynamics and what patterns you have that are based on those dynamics, such as like, who did you need to be for the person that you craved the most love from, you know, and seeing, you know, how much of your own behavior and fears and dynamics in relationships stem from your history and your past, and particularly your family dynamics from childhood. You've got to be aware of this stuff. All right, because that is the greatest safeguard from anybody who's going to manipulate you. And take it from somebody who's been very, very, very naive. And even all the self-awareness work isn't enough on its own. All right, it's very, very good. But you've also, from my perspective and what I'm going through and learning right now, is I've spent so much of my life focusing on studying human potential, human greatness, human behavior, but like finding the good in everything, that actually I've realize that I'm a bit out of balance, and the path I'm about to take now is actually going into studying more of the disordered elements of our humanity so that I can be a more balanced individual and also support you guys and the people that I work with at a much higher level, because it's going to be more grounded in the whole spectrum rather than just the greatness, the genius, and the elements that I focus on and that I love, right? It's a dark journey I've got to go on, but an empowering one, and I invite you guys to definitely do that for yourself as well. Know your blind spots, know your patterns, so that you do not get trapped in any toxic dynamic. Number 4, trust your gut. It doesn't lie. You know, like it's often like your physiological response to something is usually the truest and most valid, unless you might have had, some very unhealthy or toxic, traumatic experiences where sometimes that gauge can be out. But trust your gut, all right? How many of us have experiences in our lives where we eventually find out this is a really unhealthy place to be, but we rationalized away the red flags, all right? We didn't listen and we didn't trust into that gut response, okay? It's really important that you start developing your connection to your intuition, right? Your gut response, your intuition, there's something off here, and actually backing yourself and trusting yourself on it. I guarantee you it's going to save you a lot of heartache, a lot of time, a lot of effort, all the good stuff, all right? All right, next one, number 5. Don't confuse love and abuse. Okay, now this is a really important one, and it really connects to the self-awareness piece, because if I was to ask you, and you might want to do this, outside of this video, if I was to ask you to describe your childhood in 5 descriptive words, singular descriptive words, I'll get you to go and do that, and just whatever comes up, write down whatever those 5 words are. And what they do is actually depict how you perceive intimate partnership to be. All right, so some of mine, I did this exercise a long time ago with a coach of mine, and I can't really remember what I wrote down, but I think there was something like I had to be perfect, right? Perfectionism. There were ones like I was alone, like it was lonely. I can't remember the other ones, but basically, these are the things that we can get into an intimate partnership that unconsciously reflects what we experienced in our childhoods, and we can mistake that as love because that's the connections that we had. All right, so it's really powerful to have this level of awareness within yourself so that you can create space when you meet people, and you can work out whether this is somebody that is going to co-create something super healthy and enlivening for both of you, or something that could end up incredibly toxic and cost you your own self-esteem, self-belief, and potential. All right, this is super important. Oh, I love this one. Number 6. Don't get swept up in love bombing. All right, what's love bombing? You've probably heard this term. Love bombing is when, particularly in the beginning of relationships, where it's like you're in this infatuation stage and this person is just love bombing you. They're texting you all the time. They're calling you all the time. There's romance, there's flowers, there's gifts, there's, all sorts of, things that are really romantic and whatever, right? Now, this is like the Disney fairy tale, whirlwind romance style, all these experiences that are social media worthy. You want to take some photos of your flowers, or you're, on this vacation, or whatever you're doing, and share it with the world. But it's all kind of happening really fast, and you just feel like, wow, like you just kind of boom, like love bombed, right? This is one of the key strategies that narcissistic people actually use in their tactics and their strategies to locking you in, all right, and distracting you from some of the more unhealthy or the red flags of the dynamic, all right? So really important to understand. Number 7 is be careful of believing in soulmates and twin flames or any sort of magical connection, all right? Now, I'm an idealist, right? I study personality psychology. That's what I work with my clients with. Part of my actual personality type is known as an idealist, all right? And so this has made me particularly susceptible to narcissistic dynamics, and I've got a string of them now that I've realized, but basically it's this kind of this like extraordinary, exceptional, unique connection that, you're just meant to be, and it can get, basically it's like a signature move of the narcissist, right? Because it feeds into the person's need to be seen and to be heard and to be understood in this kind of all-encompassing and even emulating kind of way, right? Like, and this is something that happened to me big time, all right? And you can think about it like this, like a narcissistic relationship is actually very much like a magic show, all right? So this is where, it's kind of like, oh, look over here, like we're so amazing and this is so magical, whilst all the way, like there's something real, what's truly going on is over here, right? It's like a distraction from the red flags so that you're not looking at them and analyzing, hang on a minute, is this somebody I want to be with or not? It's kind of like, no, we're meant to be. It's this magical connection, these soulmate connections, right? Very, very important. Number 8 is resist moving too fast. Now, I'm very grateful that this last connection that I was experimenting with was one in which was really weird in a lot of ways because of COVID and the restrictions. I met this person, they lived overseas, and we weren't able to meet. Right? We weren't able to meet physically. And so we've been building a relationship, really on Zoom, right? So really through video, all right? And so it was very lucky. I feel very grateful for COVID, to be honest with you, because if COVID hadn't have been a thing, I would have met this person within the first couple of weeks of ever meeting them. Probably they would have flown over here, and the same thing that's happened to me in the past in other relationships would have happened. The relationship would have taken off, and I love a fast pace of everything, right? And so not understanding or having any of this awareness or knowledge or not being able to see red flags and only seeing good in people is really dangerous, right? I've come to know. And so really, narcissists really want you to move really fast, all right? They get caught up in this fantasy of the ideal love, and they want it to move really, really fast so that basically they get you hooked in and locked in without noticing where there are those red flags, as I said. And also it makes it quicker for them to get into a position of control over you. All right. I feel really negative in this, but like, bear with me because we have to be aware of all sides, right? Not only the light, we have to be aware of the dark so that we can get into a place of wisdom and balance, all right? Of being able to see all of it and choose clearly, all right? So, and I will say this, sometimes narcissists will move too slow almost, it feels, in relationship. Now, this wasn't my experience, but I have heard of this happening for a lot of people where basically they play the hard to get kind of game, right? And a lot of people succumb to that. They get so caught up in them playing hard to get that they kind of settle for kind of scraps of connection, and that's how another strategy that a narcissist might use to kind of hook somebody. All right, so you can be wary of that as well. Number 9 is put out the gaslighting as soon as it happens. Okay, so what's gaslighting? It's basically when people, when you express something that is your reality, is your experience, and they just question that. They make you feel like that's not true, or how could you even get to that, right? Or, questioning your sanity or your feelings or your reality. It's actually emotional abuse, basically. Or they can be very condescending. All right. And anything that kind of makes you doubt yourself, that's basically what that gaslighting is. And in order to ensure against a narcissistic relationship, as soon as you see that, you've got to step forward with it, you know, and it's really difficult to do that because we tend to excuse things a bit, right? And we don't want to be rude, or maybe we got it wrong, right? You've got to bring it up and you've got to see how they respond and how they handle that, right? Because it's going to give you a lot of insight about who this person is and whether that was just a genuine mistake and you can learn and grow from that, or you're really you've got your finger on the pulse of something that could be and would be very toxic moving forward if this person is struggling with a narcissistic personality disorder. Number 10, pay attention to what's called future faking. All right, this is a big one as well. So this is a classic love bombing tool, and it's all about like, someday we're going to do this, right? It's like the bucket list, the romantic getaways to Paris, right? The magical things, and particularly narcissists can suck you in as they gather more and more ideas and understanding and kind of get a handle on your own dreams, right? What you are really inspired by. And a funny story on this is when I broke up with this person who I believe struggles pretty badly with this and some other things, which I was completely oblivious to. But basically, when I broke up with them, they did a couple of things that really were like, well, that's weird, but again, it didn't quite click, and I actually ended up going back into the relationship for a couple of months before now finally realizing, hang on a minute, now I really see it, okay? But the couple of things that they did at that first time a couple of months ago was, number one, the first thing they thought about was Facebook status, like social media, like what are people going to see, you know, if we're not going to be in a relationship. And I thought, oh, that's a bit weird, you know, but I just kind of was like, okay, just give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, all right, you know, when you're stressed and things take you by surprise, you can think all sorts of things. And the other thing that they did was they sent me these couple of emails, like while I was on the call with them. And basically they were just like these whole basic textbooks of me, of like everything that I love, like all my visions, everything. And I kind of thought, oh, that's really nice. That's quite romantic that this person really wanted to become the expert on me, right? That's, you know, and I believe that was probably a strategy for sending it to me right at the time when I was breaking up the relationship. But it didn't, you know, convert me or anything. But now I actually just went back to that today as I was making these realizations, and I looked at it in these new eyes, and it actually felt, whoa, like this person has been studying me and manufacturing an identity and a vision that will hook me based on what I've shared openly with this person, you know what? And it was really just a manufactured kind of vision, right? All this future faking. And, you know, don't get caught up in future faking and all these promises of the future, because they're likely not ever going to happen, right? They're a strategy. So that, like I said, it's a classic love bombing tool. Oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that and all sorts of things, all right? Number 11 is don't make overly big sacrifices of what's important to you. So this might be, you know, giving up on your education or your career, or, you know, dropping everything and moving to a different country, which is, to be honest with you, like in this last relationship, I even I went through the process of getting a visa, you know, to be able to travel overseas. But luckily, I held off because I was concerned about COVID restrictions, and a lot of Australians, I mean, we're still stuck in Australia, and a lot of Australians trapped overseas can't get back into the country even now. That's due to change in the next couple of months, but who knows? And I didn't want to get caught up in that, and luckily I didn't. You know, this person, just to paint some picture here, you know, they straight out the gate basically wanted me to come over to their country on a fiancé visa. And as I started, it was really romantic at the beginning, right? Like all this effort they'd gone to research how to let me get over to them and meet them and everything. And then as I started looking into it, I was like, a fiance visa, that would mean I'd have to get married to this person within 90 days. And it could jeopardize me traveling to that country in the future if I don't do that. And I could get stuck over there and not be able to get back home if something wasn't right. There was a lot going on there, and we had to navigate a lot with that, right? But you can get caught up in the whirlwind of it. Sounds super romantic, right? And I'm not going to lie, I've gotten caught up in that particular kind of love bombing a few times, like the whirlwind romance and the fast track of everything, all right? And I'm grateful that I didn't make any big sacrifices, and again, grateful that COVID was restricting me in a lot of ways as well, because it could have happened, because this, like many people, get caught up in the soulmate, the trauma bond, the faked future, the love bombed kind of mess that is a narcissistic relationship, and have kind of this, you only live once kind of perspective, in this really romanticized Disney fairy tale kind of perspective, right? And that's what narcissists kind of use to really hook the people that they want to be in intimate partnership with. Number 12. Don't let others gaslight you about how lucky you are. Okay, now this one is an interesting one, which is basically when all this is taking place, when you're in this kind of really fast moving, exciting fairy tale love bombing relationship, and everybody can see, oh, you're getting all these gifts and they're spoiling you, all these nice things are happening, and they think, oh, my partner doesn't even do that, right? Like, you're so lucky, right? And if you are to voice anything to those people about, oh, I'm not 100% sure, like, something feels a bit off, right? Like, they might say something like, oh, are you sure you're not being too hard on them? Nobody's perfect, right? Those kind of statements, although these people could be incredibly well-intentioned, they're not in the relationship, right? They're just seeing all the beautiful things from the outside, right? And basically, this is what can plant the seed of self-doubt, which is so disastrous, because that seed, if you let it plant with other people's perspectives of what's going on, and them seeing how lucky you are and how amazing it is, and all that sort of stuff, that can gradually become a very deep-rooted, deeply set, grounded self-doubt that basically keeps you trapped in that relationship and in a lot of confusion and self-doubt. Okay, so my advice to you here is to trust yourself, to know that you're the only one who can know what's best for you, and to not let any well-intentioned people, no matter how close they are to you or how well-intentioned they are to you, don't let them gaslight you on your own intuitions and what doesn't feel right, okay? So trust yourself is the biggest thing. And that's basically what I've been working on a lot in my life, is developing that trust at a higher level, which I really feel allowed me to see the truth in greater detail, and I'm grateful that it's happened as it has, because it could have been a lot worse. Could have been much worse. Number 13, be aware of their victim story that hooks you in. Okay, now this is particularly true for what's known as a vulnerable narcissist. So we mostly know narcissists as grandiose, right? Like the center of attention, they want to be the center of attention, and they basically feel superior, and they make really grandiose, ways of being in the world and whatever. Versus the vulnerable narcissist, which is the one that I tend to attract in a whole series of my relationships. And basically it takes a lot longer to get to identify these people as vulnerable narcissists. And for me, and I'm sure some of you as well, and I'd love to hear from you guys, when somebody shared, like for me, what's attracted me most to people is their courageous vulnerability. All right, I've really seen vulnerability as a strength. I want you to share the depths of your soul. You know, I want you to be able to like acknowledge and talk about everything that impacts you, from light to dark, the whole spectrum of emotion. And basically, one of my patterns has come from having a very unemotional father, right? And so that void actually attracted me to people who overshare a lot. And the vulnerable narcissist, and narcissists in general will do this probably as well, but they tend to have a very sad story about their childhood, or even in past partnerships. And you really, really want to look out for that. It's really great that people can open up and be vulnerable with you, but take some time, right? So take some time to really create some space and see who this person is, because, you know, something I'll talk about in just a moment, like you really want to keep your finger on the pulse as to how they view their past and the people in their vicinity, and how much they're playing the victim. And how much they blame and what they do about it, all right? And basically, the narcissist will use this kind of victim story to hook you in and get an empathetic kind of response that they crave, right? That's kind of a fuel source for them. You become like a narcissistic supply for them. Number 14, we're almost there, is pay attention to those who take a risk to warn you about the narcissist. I got to tell you guys, like, this is a big one for me, and I could not be more grateful. I had two people reach out to me this year, warning me about two different people, but in relationship to this particular topic, or this relationship that I've just exited, I actually had a family member of this person take a risk to reach out to me and to get on a call with me. I'd never met them before. They had no vested interest or relationship with me. In fact, they have a reasonable relationship with this person, and they basically went behind this person's back to clear their own conscience about having a conversation with me. And it took me by absolute surprise. I could have never guessed that this is the reason why this person wanted to get on a call with me. I actually felt like it was going to be because this person's birthday was coming up or something, and maybe they wanted to plan a surprise or something. And basically, this person, their family member, shared with me that, you know, they actually were really concerned about me, and they really wanted to check in and see that I was being treated okay. And it really took me by surprise, because of course I hadn't experienced anything other than, there were some red flags that I was denying and rationalizing away. But basically, they shared this with me, and basically this person was somebody, there was no payoff for them to come to me and share their concerns, other than to clear their own conscience, so that they could make sure that, hey, this is something I know about this person. I feel like I'm going to not feel good if I don't share this information with this person who could be getting involved with this person, I'm going to take that risk, and I'm going to clear my conscience with that. All right. And basically, the conversation turned into me reassuring this person that I was getting treated very well, and they had nothing to be concerned with, and thanked them very much. But I honestly could not be more grateful for the courage it takes for somebody to reach out like that when they do know something. Because even if somebody doesn't get it right there and then, it will be invaluable to them when they do start adding up the equation, and now they've got some experience and some validation for what they're really experiencing from somebody who's known this person for a lot longer than you have, right? So, and I could really relate to that, because I personally have struggled with feeling like, gosh, there's something I know about this person, and I can't even think about them being in this relationship and going through these same challenges again, but just feeling like it's not my place to interfere. But, like, I'm so grateful somebody had the courage to do that for me. All right. And yeah, it's happened a couple of times within the same week with different people, right? So this is my patterns that I'm owning here, right? And finally awakening to. Number 15 is pay attention to how they talk about others to you. This is huge. What I found in connection with this person was I started feeling like I had to protect everybody that this person talked about, from their family members to their friendships to their clients, to even people who are doing amazing things in this world and contributing to society in huge ways. Like, I constantly felt like I had to protect all these people, and it was a really weird dynamic. I had to really stop and analyze that and go, why is it that I feel like we get into this challenge or this conflict, and I always feel like I'm in this position of having to balance out the equation or protect these people from your devaluations, right? I just was oblivious to it, and it just happened more and more and more and more and more until it was whole groups of people, and and it can get like that. But just watch it to begin with, right? And usually they're devaluing or tearing them down, playing the victim or blaming. And remember that a narcissist has a fluctuating self-esteem, which means that they're going to have to, they depend on external sources or how they're being viewed to determine how they feel about themselves, whether they're on top of the world and better than everybody, or if they're just like, feeling completely bummed out and like just really, deflated. All right. So just know that that's a dynamic that's at play. So really pay attention to how they talk about other people to you. Okay. Number 16 is realize that they will always need someone to feel more superior than. Okay. So at some stage, that's going to be likely you, all right? Because if you're going to get into particularly an intimate partnership with a narcissist, you're going to be the one who spends the most time with this person. And so you're going to set yourself up for being, the person that they use to inflate their ego back up with, all right? By tearing you down or devaluing you, all right? So that's really important. Again, I feel super negative, but I really just want you to know that it's a necessary part of our growth and our evolution to see the full spectrum of humanity. And that's what I'm doing in my life right now, because I've had an overemphasis on all the good, all the potential, all the, great, beautiful, amazing things about humanity. And I've been out of balance, and that's why I've had this string of relationships that I was so naive to, so oblivious to what the dynamics of what were going on, all right? And so it's very healthy for us to balance out the equation. Now, some people might be on the other side of that, right? They're always focused on what's wrong, all right? Or how somebody's going to take advantage of you. And their growth is to find the good, right? And the other side. So that's really important too. But the idea is that we want to be wise. And the way that we get wise is we get the full spectrum, the full terrain, so that we're not just on one-sidedness, okay? Number 16, we're nearly there, we're getting there. We already did just 16. Number 17 is realize that there is no reasoning with them and they always need to win, okay? So this is a really difficult one for those of us who struggle with guilt, right? And we don't like hurting people. We don't like letting people down, and we sacrifice ourselves and our own needs to make people feel okay. That ain't healthy. And what I've learned is that what would work for two healthy individuals who can leave a partnership amicably is that those strategies of really unpacking the dynamic and having closure and supporting one another in that doesn't work in a narcissistic relationship. And I've learned this. All it does is prolong it, right? And what it does is it prolongs it. If you try and reason with them about what's going on and whatever, all they do is start a cycle that's geared to breaking you down and becoming condescending or making it like, oh, poor you. Now, what happened for me, this gave me a bit of a laugh, but here's how it happens, right? What happened for me is when I finally realized the second time, oh no, this is getting very unhealthy, and I started realizing the dynamics of our disordered parts of our humanity that were definitely at play, and I woke up to those. I did try and reason and, and make sure that it was really clear and as loving as possible, and, got all the details so there's nothing left guessing or whatever. Basically, this person responded in a way that tried to make it out like, oh, Vanessa, you're just so, we're getting too close, and you're so afraid of how intimate our connection is. And and basically I was like, whoa, like, how can it be that like that, right? And also knowing me and my values, right, and all this sort of stuff. But they try to gaslight you. They try to they kind of do it in this oh, poor you, you're just afraid, and you've really got to have a backbone with this. And what I've learned is if you keep engaging, they keep coming back, right? And eventually it could wear you down, all right? So you just have to get to a point where you realize the best thing, as uncomfortable as it may feel, as guilty as you may feel, like, you just got to cut off completely, right? That I'm sorry to say, there ain't no other way, all right? I've had this experience multiple times, and it is the strategy, the only one that really can work over the long term to protect your health and your sanity, all right? Number 18, we're finally here, guys. You guys are absolute superstars if you've been here for this long. Number 18 is remove yourself from the victim position by becoming the creator of your empowered life. Now, what do I mean? It's really easy, and something that I've been struggling with, over this period of time of going into the darkness and exploring it all and realizing and seeing the patterns perpetuating throughout my relationship dynamics. It's really easy to fall into this hopelessness. I'm such a victim. How could I not see it? I've been manipulated. All these things. And I think it's healthy to see where we have been victimized, but we're adults now, right? There's a difference between, an adult and a child. And basically what I would say is have compassion for yourself. Acknowledge the things that have not been right, the poor treatment, the manipulation, any of that stuff, right? All of it. You want to acknowledge that. You want to nurture yourself. You want to have self-love and self-compassion, but you don't want to live in the victim position, all right? What you need to do is you've got to allow yourself to move through it, move with it, so that you can move beyond it and take the wisdom of it with you. Right? You can't just skip over it and pretend like, you've never been a victim and like whatever, and you get over it. Like, that doesn't work. Like, you do have a traumatic experience that you do need to process. And however you choose to do that, supported by other people who are expert in that, or in your own practices, it's really important that you either give yourself the support that you need or get the support from others that you need at that time, and allow yourself to recognize where you have been victimized. But then what I really want to point to in this particular message is getting to the place of taking action to realize your own patterns, to ensure against future narcissistic relationships, so that you can live the life that you create for yourself by design, right? Rather than just defaulting in the patterns that have gotten you into, more toxic environments in relationship. And here's how you do it. So you've got to recognize, like I said at the beginning of this message in the title, fear, guilt, hope, and naivety are the things that get people stuck in narcissistic relationships, okay? So if you find yourself in this position, look at your fears. Identify what fears of yours feed into these dynamics. All right. Some of mine were, the fear of missing out on an amazing relationship, right? Like the fear of being too old or missing out or never finding the one, right? Like they're all laying in the subconscious going on, right? And you might have a fear of being alone, right? You might have, and so you're willing to settle and rationalize away these kind of red flags and the dynamics. The next part is to identify how guilt makes you vulnerable to these relationships, right? You don't like making people feel bad, or you feel sorry for them, or, you don't want to make them wrong, right? A coach of mine who, funnily enough, turns out to have been a vulnerable narcissist himself, but he did teach me some good lessons. Just like this last relationship has really benefited my life in a lot of ways, particularly in my pathway forward, and also particularly in my self-awareness. But basically this coach of mine said to me, because I was really struggling with guilt, and he actually told me that my partner at the time was a vulnerable narcissist, and I'd never heard of that before, right? I didn't know anything about it. I was like, that's interesting. Takes one to know one, I guess. But this coach said to me, guilt means a yes for me and a no for you. All right. So he made me kind of put this on my phone, and it really did help me because I used to struggle with guilt way more than I do now. Right. And that's one of the most beautiful pathways any of us can go through, is to outshift our relationship to guilt, and to recognize if you're somebody who feels too guilty, right, at the expense of what's healthy for you, and you put others and their needs ahead of your own, particularly when it's costing you something valuable in your own health or esteem, then that's saying every time I feel guilt, it means a no for them and a yes to me. That's really, really powerful. So I'd recommend that as a little strategy to get you going. And hope. So you've got to mitigate against hope, which is one of the things that keeps us stuck in narcissistic relationships. We have to make sure that actions speak louder than words. Don't just take their word for it. Narcissists are they are just epic at language and giving you what you want to hear, right? They are collecting all the information about what it is that you value, and you could mistake that as a really loving thing to do, but basically it's all to serve their purpose of hooking you in and attaching to you and preventing you from seeing any of those red flags. All right, so make sure that actions speak louder than words. I couldn't care less about what people say to me these days. If your actions aren't showing it, I don't believe it. All right, until I see it that you're doing it consistently, we'll just leave that up in the air, right? That's really important. And lastly, naivety. All right, so I would say that it's very important to study things like narcissistic relationship dynamics, to expand your awareness of toxic relationships versus healthy relationships, to balance out your ability with seeing the good in others with also recognizing the red flags. And I've been doing this for a while now, like consciously, and it has taken an escalation in my relationship dynamic to be able to finally see more of the terrain. And that's what I hope a message like this will help inspire you to do in your own life, is to just take in more of the terrain and to be really compassionate with yourself, to trust yourself, to trust your own intuitions, to stay true to what you need in partnership, and to not need a relationship to feel okay, right? That's a very dangerous place to be. And so what you want to do is focus on your connection with self, whether you're in partnership or you're not. Like, it's always the most important relationship that you could ever develop and deepen. All right, so This has been a very long one for you guys, but I really hope it served you, and I really want to dive in and see what comments you guys have had, and who's been able to join today as the sun keeps reflecting weirdly off my glass table. But so good to see you, Kayla and Kumar and Dennis, and I'm doing really well, Kumar. Thank you for joining. And Judith is here, and Angela, awesome. And Caitlin, thank you for connecting Patrick into it and sharing this message. And Danielle, good to see you from Canada. Good to see you, beautiful. And Christine's here. Very true. I often do that. Yeah. Oh, you know, there's so many of us who are, you know, I know, Christine, you're such a beautiful, kind soul, you know, and unfortunately, we can do all this rationalizing away of poor behavior or poor treatment and all the rest of it. And so I feel ya. I know I've done all these things wrong in the past, and it doesn't matter when we wake up. It just matters that we do wake up. All right. And so, yeah, I'm feeling you on that. And awesome. And Angela's here as well. Awesome. And Jose, Vanessa, I'm late. I need to replay this. Don't get married yet. It could take your time away from all this good work that you're doing. Hugs from Warsaw, Indiana, USA. Good to have you as always, Jose. And yes, I hope you catch the beginning of where you missed in this message. Hope it's of a maximum value to you. And thank you so much. Yeah, ain't gonna be getting married anytime soon. So love that. And Sawn, my tarot deck agrees. 9 of Cups from the pool. I gotta run. I'll listen to this tomorrow. Sounds good. It's a card about questioning what real happiness in life is. Oh, cool. Interesting. I love that, Sawn. I can't wait to hear more about that when you get a chance to listen to the rest of this recording. Thanks for being here and showing up and giving a new insight. I love that. And Dennis sent you a PM. Oh, cool. I'll check it out. Thanks for letting me know. Truth is real. You know what is real. Trust yourself. People show the truth. Believe it. I'm proud you chose this path. Dealing with SHIT. I get it. Yeah, I love it. Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate you, my friend. And you know, we're all dealing with all sorts of stuff, right? And whether we're conscious of it or not. And yeah, like I said, what's most important is you wake up and you make whatever is the right decision, not the easy decision that you think in the short term, but the right decision, right? The right decision is always going to be the easiest in the long term. And sometimes, you know, we make decisions for the wrong reasons and it costs us so much more than is necessary. So love that, Dennis. And, you know, for me, I'm somebody who once I know, and I can't lie, right? Like I might be oblivious to things for a fair while because of all those things that I engage in these tactics of what not to do, right? The rationalizing away, the idealism, the getting swept up in the love bombing and the romance of everything and, you know, future faking, right? Like all of that stuff. But yeah, like we gotta wake up and definitely move on. All right. And Jose, clarity and empathy. Even if you are so far away, your soul and messages connect to us in the distance. Thank you for sharing. Oh, I appreciate that, Jose. Thank you so much. Grateful that this is of value to you, and always love knowing that these messages are of value to you, and I love that you keep showing up. And also you're saying actions more than words. You nail it. I was married to the mother of my son, but not the love of my life. Still searching. Yep. Keep up the search, my friend. You know, some of the most inspiring people that I love the work of, a lot of them don't meet their life partners until they're, you know, well into their 40s, 50s, 60s, you know, and I don't care about age. I don't care about, I would never now, with the conscious awareness that I have, settle for any relationship based on, like, I can't lie to myself to the same degree that I have previously in my life, which means that basically in the past, I realized that I had a fear of loss, a fear of missing out, fear of going it alone, all these sorts of things that just made me kind of fall into the relationship without question. And that was why I was perpetually in a relationship, right? And now that I've been working on and developing my connection with myself, like, your relationship with yourself sets a standard for all other relationships in your life. If somebody can't enhance your life, you know, and offer you even more to experience in life and in love than you can create for yourself, you're just not going to settle for it, right? But if you don't have that connection, if you feel alone, if you're not around people, right, you feel lonely, you don't have a good connection with self, you require other people to tell you that you're okay, that puts you in a very dangerous position, okay? So, and I know that real well, all right? So keep searching, Jose, me too, but you know, I don't really... you can take this or leave it, you know, but I believe in just being your whole self, right? Enjoying your life, like focusing on the things that you're most passionate about, having an abundant mindset, right? That, you know, that can trust, that, you know, that you'll connect with and discover the people that you're meant to, but involve yourself in the areas that most enliven you, not for the purposes of trying to meet that special person, right? Like, because that's a lonely path that makes you susceptible to getting into the wrong dynamics. So I love that, Jose. And Dennis agreed, great path, smart and feeling girl. I appreciate you, my friend. All right, that is my message for you. I know it's been a hell of a long one. So have all of mine recently. I've gotten off and I'm like 40, 50 minutes. Jeez, like I can't believe anybody wants to watch that, because I struggle watching anything that's like more than 5 or 10 minutes. So grateful for you guys. It touches my heart. It's such an honor to know that any of these messages serve you in any way. So thank you for showing up. I love that you guys contribute your experiences, everything that you feel called to share. I feel very grateful that although, yep, I've been guilty of attracting some pretty toxic dynamics into my life, simultaneously everything's always in balance, and for some other reason I tend to attract exceptional, heart-centered, amazing, growth-minded individuals such as yourselves who keep showing up. So very, very grateful for each and every one of you. And Jose, thank you so much for meditating your kind words. You're so welcome, always. Thanks for the opportunity to do so. So that's my message for you. Hope it serves you. And if you need to come back to this one, you know, come back to it. Like, seriously, I know it's long, but like those 18 tactics, they couldn't be more true for me. And there's probably a hell of a lot more that I'm still in denial of, or I'm still oblivious to, or whatever, but they're very, very powerful. Hope it's served you and supported you. Share this message with anybody that you could find, that you know could find value from it. And I cannot wait to see you guys very, very soon. So much love, and I'll see you very soon. Whatever.